We had military maps which we looked at before we went on a trip, but there were no signposts anywhere because of possible attack by German parachutists.
And I shan't forget sort of either side of the channel, and people don't really know what it's like to be occupied until you've had it. Because in spite of the fact we weren't in the same part of France as Paris, we nevertheless didn't like it much when the Germans walked down the Champs-Élysées at that time, marched down. We felt the same as they did.
Working together of Britain and France has not been celebrated as it should have been.
They were called students while they were in training. They were called bods when they were dropped, and they only became human beings when they came back, if they came back.
I was interrogating for World War very roughly. I was taken down to the cellar in Dijon and they shot around my feet. But, you know, because it looked so obvious that they wanted information of any sort of, rather than killing me, it was not all that frightening, quite frankly. Well, I didn't think so at the time, anyway.
Before D-Day, I think killing a German was no use at all.
We loved the work and we were very passionately concerned with the students, and we knew them, of course, some of them. We didn't know who they were or what their real names were, but they were on the camp with us, some who were going to be dropped afterwards. And we were very young and very romantic, and we were very concerned with the full moon, you know, because they always went when the moon was full, and we used to watch the moon like anything.
We always laid on our operations within 1 week before or 1 week after full moon. And we needed the moon really for two reasons. One was to help with map reading, to get the navigation right.
We were upstairs in one of the bedrooms having some cheap bread and cheese or something. I remember I had a little table knife in my hand and the door suddenly opened. In fact, I said, "Here come the Gestapo," big joke, you know. And the door opened and in came the German soldiers, a machine gun pointing at us. And I remember putting that knife down very slowly and carefully and putting my hands up.
On a fine evening with the moon and the sea, they, especially the foreigners, would get a bit romantic, and you let them hold your hand, and then it was much more easier to get information out of them.
There was no armament left on the aircraft. It had all been removed to reduce the amount of weight. And the only armament one had was a small handgun in the front cockpit.
Shall I tell you the complete parachute training we had? You jump out, count 3, pull the cord. And honestly, that was it.
1 minute you're in an aircraft full of noise, engine noise, and next minute you're in silence, drifting down under this parachute, which was quite, well, quite exciting, really. It didn't bother me.
He actually saw the torpedo coming through the water, and he screamed at her, "Jump!" And she wouldn't, and he literally threw her overboard because he knew that the Khedive was loaded with ammo as well as troops. And she survived. She doesn't know who the man was, so she doesn't know if he survived.
We've just got 2 or 3 bombs here, which, you know, perhaps you wouldn't mind driving them out to, we'll blow them up outside Bristol.
In Bomber Command, the aircraft was hit and half the crew were killed immediately. So to survive was utterly remarkable. It really, really, really was. If I could meet the anti-aircraft crews who managed to hit the aircraft but not the crew, I'd say thank you.
We were kept apart. I was in solitary confinement for about 4 months. How I kept my sanity, I don't know, but I did. And we were nearly starved. They just about kept us alive.
Comet Line itself lost 216 members shot or otherwise killed. Over 1,000 of them were in camps, prisons, at the time of the liberation. They saved over 800 Allied aircrew.
I was the one that didn't get away. Oh dear.
Interception of messages had been going on since the First World War. It isn't a new thing. Everybody was doing it. Every country is doing it. And listening to what they could and breaking the codes if they could.
I thought I really might be going to be Mata Hari, but I don't really think that either my German or my legs were up to that.
If you went to Bletchley, you know, you were really incarcerated most of the time.
I got held up 6 weeks before I went to Bletchley, while my local police had to investigate my background. So that was a fine start for someone who'd got to get into the spy business.
There were thousands of Enigma machines in operation, therefore thousands of messages going all day long, for which we needed thousands of, quote, interceptors, unquote, people who understood Morse and could listen to it.
I got into the Y service, of which nobody had ever heard, and about which we were not permitted to speak for the next 30 years.
I had no idea that this went on. You think of spies creeping round and listening. You don't really, or I didn't before the war, I was probably very naive, didn't think of people listening in to other people sending messages, which is what it all was, of course.
Sitting there hour after hour after hour listening and they could tell their own special, the print of the finger, who it was, the operator, the other end. That seemed to me absolutely incredible.
He's not an enemy. You're not going out to shoot him, but you respect him. We had great respect for the German operators.
I don't suppose we would likely leave on the ground a wounded German. We would kill him.
The whole thing was top secret. I mean, we had to be very careful not even to record in our flying logbooks the location of the fields we landed on. Everything to do with these operations was treated as being extremely hush-hush.
We were I think we were in many ways very privileged. It was a very exciting work. We were very much trusted. We were awfully young and inexperienced people mostly, but we were rather reliable, I think. I mean, mostly we didn't get into dreadful trouble and we didn't betray dreadful confidences. In fact, we were passionate about keeping confidence, which is more than people are nowadays.
You saw your little corner of whatever was going on, and you strove as hard as you could in that corner. But it was only really a long time after when one realised all those pieces fitted into the large jigsaw.